right, yes indeed it is. Once again, time for the Kanika Baseball Podcast, coming to you on this Tuesday afternoon, January 14th. I am once again joined by my lovely co-host and my beautiful wife, Nika. Good afternoon, Nika.
Hello, Kenny. Hello to our new and returning baseball fans and baseball listeners and just listeners in general. So happy New Year 2025. We are still in a festive mode, I guess.
Yes, it's not the 15th yet. So it's like you're not, once you're halfway through January, I think you can't do Happy New Year anymore.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Or Inauguration Day or the Martin Luther King Day, I guess. Maybe. I don't know how far it goes.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
All right. Well,
who gives a crap?
Exactly.
It's going to be 2026 before we know it, and we're going to have another World Series champion knocking on the doorstep because the 2025 baseball season is literally a month away from getting started. We will have pitchers and catchers reporting for duty.
Are you getting ready?
I'm ready. You mean baseball ready? Am I getting physically ready?
Yes.
Yeah, the push-up bars are out. They're not collecting dust at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Indeed. But the weather is definitely frightful outside this morning. We are picking up some of those Santa Ana winds that are causing the destructive LA fires. And we should mention really quick to any of our listeners or audience in the LA area, of course, hearts go out to you in this time of need. And hopefully everyone is finding safe ground. I know like the death toll is 25 now, I believe, or something around there. It's just hard to believe. You and I used to live really right there.
Yep. But a lot of things have changed. A lot of things happen, and that's
life.
Yep.
And it's for the
Sad.
best for us, of course, but it doesn't mean that we don't have a heartfelt attachment to some of the things that made that place what it was for us.
Sure.
So, nevertheless, it is LA, and they are our rivals. So, our sympathies only go out for the Fires, not for the team, not for the Dodgers, not for Ohtani, not for the deferment.
That's right.
That stays in the "we're mad at you" vault. And we don't want you to get anything more, damn it, which leads to, I think, the big news and everything going on in the week. It really started off with a bang yesterday.
Wait, are we having breaking news now? Or is it just the breaking news in general?
Well, we're going to hold off on breaking news for 1 second. The baseball world has its eyes fixed right now on Roki Sasaki and his big decision of where he's going to sign. If you don't know who Roki Sasaki is, stay tuned, everybody, because we're going to reintroduce him to you and reintroduce everything that's been going on with him and why he is such a special player, I guess, and where he will go. And we will give our thoughts on where he should go, obviously. We have some biasm in there, but I also feel like there's a few other people that have their eyes on this and they're looking at it in the right way. So we'll wait and see what happens with all of this, but it is exciting. It's really felt like the trading deadline on Twitter yesterday, where you just kind of were like, oh my gosh, is something new happening? Is something new happening? Is anything new happening with this? And you could see the excitement. There was a lot of people posting about it. We'll get into all of it in a little bit. I don't mean to tease, but we got some other house cleaning that we got to do first. And with that, Nika, I will ask you to play the breaking news.
What's breaking?
What's breaking? I'll tell you what's breaking. The Padres are breaking because they're going to have to go to arbitration, it looks like, with one of their players for the first time in the A.J. Preller era, and that is the starter, Michael King, number 34. And I got some feelings about this myself right now. We haven't mentioned anything about our last episode, which focused solely on the big Padres family feud that has started in court and with court filings, I should say. Nothing has happened in a court of law yet. But aside from all that, we still have a season to get ready for and prepare for. And the Padres had a lot of players up for arbitration, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But one of those players did not come to terms, and that is Michael King. And Michael King is somebody that I felt like was probably one of our best pitchers down the stretch last year. And, it's probably why he feels like he's worth that extra $1.5 million that he's asking for. And they're not very far apart. So I have this article up here from Sports Illustrated, Nika, and it is by Marin Angus Coombs. It's from January 9th, and it says Padres faced first arbitration case in over a decade in frustrating development. And it says, if you read the article, the Padres could be heading to an arbitration hearing for the first time since 2014 with one of their starting pitchers. The team was unable to reach a 1-year contract agreement with Michael King by Thursday's 10 a.m. deadline. As a result, his 2025 salary will be determined in an arbitration hearing next month unless a deal is struck before then. Both sides must submit their proposed 2025 salary figures by 5 p.m. on Thursday. However, negotiations can continue and an agreement can be reached at any point before the arbitration hearing in February. The Padres' most recent arbitration hearing occurred in 2014, the year before A.J. Preller became general manager. Starting pitcher Andrew Kashner won that case. I don't think that last sentence was needed in this article because that's ancient news. But I hope that gives everybody an idea of just how rare this has been during the tenure of A.J. Preller. He does not apparently like to go to arbitration. I read somewhere else that because it requires the team to basically devalue their player. And they don't like to make the player, they don't like to point out the faults of the player to their face, in a sense, I guess, And I totally understand that.
But didn't you tell me there was over 100 players that went into arbitration this year?
100%.
So it happens. It's not unheard of. Everybody wants to test the waters. Michael King had a great season last year.
He did.
So I don't necessarily blame him for trying to get more money out of it.
He did. And I don't blame him either. This is a pretty unique case, I think, that's also A.J. Preller is facing. So, and it is important to note that the Padres did reach agreements with Luis Arraez, Dylan Cease, Jason Adam, and Adrian Morejon, as well as Luis Campusano, who's still in the system right now and might be the catcher this year after he got basically kicked off the playoff team last year because his defensive catching sucks.
But they reached an agreement with him.
They did, 100%. He's still there. So those players, all that I just mentioned, reached their arbitration agreements. So they are going to be back. Michael King needs to get this resolved in an arbitration hearing, and I still think there's a chance that this does not go there. I think some of this depends on what happens with Roki Sasaki, which we'll talk about, but I don't know. I think knowing how really close they are, they're not that far apart on the numbers. So they, like I said, they can negotiate up until the arbitration date hearing, and that's that, but players like to have this arbitration option so that they can start to earn more money before their contract is up. So it's part of the gig. They agreed to it. So I don't think A.J. Preller should have too many hard feelings about it. And I think you should always approach it from the standpoint of can you reach these stats again, or can you improve upon even more what you did and whatnot. Also, Michael King is someone that they could try and sign to a long-term contract still, but it seems like they're not in a lot of spending mode. So it's tough. We'll wait and see how this ends up for the Padres, but don't worry, Michael King's going to be pitching next year, and hopefully he's not pissed off at the team while he's doing it. I don't think he's that kind of guy, so I don't think there's anything really to worry about there. But was worth pointing out since it does not happen very often with our Padres. I'm going to turn the page and talk about another arbitration case with another team, the Chicago Cubs. On the same day, it came out that the Cubs were also going to arbitration with someone who just joined their team, their big trade acquisition, Kyle Tucker. This kind of came out of nowhere, and it does not bode well for the future of the Chicago Cubs and Kyle Tucker being together. And it's already being reported in Newsweek that basically Kyle Tucker is going to be Juan Soto for the Cubs this year, and he's going to leave next year and go somewhere else. And it's like a 1-year thing. And I'm wondering now, is this going to be the next new trend in baseball to loan out a superstar player to a major market team that has a plethora of free agent or a plethora of prospects to just trade away for him and keep him just for 1 year and then let him go?
If that's the continued trend, I think the Cubs going to find themselves in a bad spot.
I agree. And teams that do this in general are going to find themselves on the wrong side of it. And look what happened. The Yankees gave up the aforementioned Michael King and a lot more because they gave up Drew Thorpe for Juan Soto as well. Michael King and Drew Thorpe, plus Kyle Higashioka, who was huge for the Padres last year. They gave all this up, blah, blah, blah.
I know what you're saying, but the thing is with the Cubs, I don't understand why they're going to arbitration. Kyle Tucker is already established player. He's not some unknown figure. And Cubs do have money to spend.
I don't know, but
I understand the logic behind this.
And I think a lot of Cub fans are right there with you. They're upset that the Cubs are even allowing this guy to go to arbitration over $2.5 million. It's like he's a superstar in your mind. He's putting up Juan Soto-like numbers, and yet he asked for $2.5 million more dollars. That's what we're fighting over here. We're a major market team, or aren't we? I feel like Chicago is falling off the map real quickly.
They paid $8 million to Greg Console for managing the Cubs.
I know.
Who is not on the field. He's not playing the ball, but they are unwilling to add $2 million to a salary of a superstar. It's
not looking good. It does not look good.
It does not.
The optics are not great. Go check out this Newsweek article when you have time. It is written by John Venkin, the contributing sports writer. It's really fascinating. Deadlocked over $2.5 million in salary and failing to reach an agreement on a 1-year deal that would avert a potentially painful arbitration hearing.
It's crazy.
Crazy. The Michael King arbitration is more understandable than this one, in my view. But
yes.
I don't like either one of them. I think both should settle before they go to court, but who knows? All right. Well, on that note, tomorrow is Wednesday, January 15th, and it is International Free Agent Signing Day, everybody. January 15th, the clock resets itself for the 2025 season. So what does that mean? Well, every team has like a budget to spend on international free agents, a certain amount of money, basically, and the clock restarts tomorrow on basically who you can accumulate money to. And this is why, of course, the aforementioned Roki Sasaki is in the news, is because he is right now the number one international free agent that can sign with a team. And that's also because he is underage. As we mentioned previously on this podcast, he is less than 25 years old, which means he cannot sign like a contract like Yamamoto did. He has to sign a minor league contract, which means he's going to be under 6 years of control for whoever signs him tomorrow. And that is like the big key to understand about this, is like 3 of those seasons are going to be for a minor league minimum price. And then the next 3 are going to be arbitration years. And this is the same deal that Ohtani had and all the other international prospects are given. So, yeah, this is a big day tomorrow, and we're going to talk all about Roki Sasaki in a little bit. But there are also 4 other players in this MLB article that I found posted today by Jesse Borek. He can be found at Jesse A. Borek on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm getting it down, everybody. So let's get down to this. Number 2. Joshua de Jesus Gonzalez, a shortstop from the Dominican Republic, a country that you're going to see on this list a lot.
Okay.
He is a switch-hitting shortstop, which will remind our Padre Faithful right away of Leah Dallas DeVries, our own prospect who signed with us last year. So he is looking... I don't know. There's no predictions on where he's going to sign, but he is a switch-hitting shortstop from the Dominican Republic, and we'll wait and see. Number 3 on the list is Elian Pena, another shortstop from the Dominican Republic. Kind of a common theme. You get a lot of shortstops out of the Dominican Republic, Nika.
That's because there are a lot of short guys over there.
Well, Fernando's not short, but he came up as a shortstop. I'm just saying. Lindor, is he also from Dominican Republic? Or
No, he is from Puerto Rico.
My bad. Damn. All right. Well, either way, we got Elian Pena at number 3. So keep an eye on him. And then Chris Rodriguez, an outfielder from the Dominican Republic. He's not related to Julio, so don't get your hopes up for that. But he's the number 4 prospect mentioned on this list. He's also from the Dominican Republic and an outfielder. And we also have a familiar name at the bottom of this list, which is kind of why I wanted to bring this article up. But from the United States / Venezuela, we have shortstop outfielder Andrew Salas. He is brother to Ethan Salas from the Padres, and also Jose Salas, who is also in the Major League farm systems right now. So the Salas trio brothers are probably going to all be playing for Major League organizations by some point in the next week. So congratulations to that family.
Did you know that his family owns a sports complex and they train hitters?
Who, the Salas family?
Uh-huh.
I did not.
He was born in Florida, and then he moved to Venezuela to continue his training. But both of the brothers have been trained by their father at the family complex where big leaguers have been known to stay sharp during the off season. So this is a small club. They all know each other.
Yeah.
And you're not in it.
Well, I want to read this at the bottom of this article because it's really fascinating because of our podcast specifically. But it says 29 of the players on the 2025 top 50 international prospects list are from the Dominican Republic. 13 are from Venezuela, 3 are from Cuba, 1 are from the Bahamas, 1 from Aruba, 1 from Japan, 1 from Nicaragua, and 1 from the United States who moved to Venezuela as a youngster. Position-wise, there are 26 infielders, 16 outfielders, 1 infielder-outfielder, 4 pitchers, and 3 catchers. And a partridge in a pear tree, Nika. All right. Well, good luck to all these future prospects. We will see your names in the next few weeks and then probably not hear from you again for another 4 to 5 years, right?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, they are still youngsters, so
these are mostly going to be like 16 and 17-year-old kids, by the way, from these countries, except for Roki Sasaki, who we are going to talk about now.
One thing with all these families, legacies, it's really interesting to see how people move to different countries to continue their training and education and whatnot.
Fascinating.
It's very fascinating. And if you're really serious about baseball or any sports, I think that's something parents should consider.
Yeah, definitely. It can't hurt.
Right.
Definitely to be where you can play baseball in a year-round environment,
Yeah.
you know.
All right, we can move on.
All right. Well, the big story of the week is the international prospect Roki Sasaki, who is number 1 on the list that we just mentioned. Boy, oh boy, he was in the World Baseball Classic at the age of 19 in 2023, I guess, or was it? I don't remember if it was sooner, but he definitely was on the 2023 World Baseball Classic team with Ohtani, and that won the gold. But I do have his biography up here from Wikipedia, Nika, and if you would like, I would like to introduce our audience to Roki Sasaki by reading his top couple paragraphs here, because this is not just another pitcher to break out onto the scene. Roki Sasaki is nicknamed the Monster of the Reiwa era, and he is a Japanese professional baseball pitcher for the Chiba Lotte Marines of the Nippon Professional Baseball. He made his NPB debut in 2021. If you're keeping track, he was born November 3rd, 2001. So this was before he was 20 years old when he was pitching. Sasaki set a new Japanese high school baseball record with a fastball recorded at 163 kilometers per hour. That's 101 miles an hour if you're keeping track. The Marines chose Sasaki in the first overall selection of the 2019 draft. Taking care to avoid subjecting their rookie to premature physical stresses, the Marines held him back until the 2021 season before allowing him to make his MPB debut. He threw a perfect game a year later on April 10th, 2022, in which he tied the MPB record for strikeouts in one game and set a new world record for consecutive strikeouts with 13 in a single game.
Impressive.
This is Roki Sasaki, everybody. He is now 23 years old, and he was posted, and he's going to be in the major leagues this year. We mentioned just a minute ago that he is going to get a 6-year contract with whichever team he signs for, 3 of which are going to be for the minor league minimum, and 3 of which are going to be arbitration eligible. So that will take him to about his age 29 season. This is a very similar trajectory as Shohei Ohtani, by the way, who also came here around this age before he was of age and signed a minor league deal with the Angels. So it's not unheard of that this happens. This is in contrast to Yamamoto, who signed with the Dodgers last year, but was able to do so as a basically unrestricted free agent and make as much money as he wanted. That's why he got the 12-year, $325 million deal. If Roki Sasaki is everything that he thinks he is and that everyone else thinks he is, then he's probably going to get a huge, huge contract 6 years from now when he is a free agent. But we got to get there first. And to get there, somebody needs to sign him. And yesterday, a whole hell of a lot of fireworks started going off yesterday morning. But before we got into that, I wanted to reintroduce him to our audience. So having done that, a bunch of teams got told that they're eliminated from the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. And it all started with, first up, Bob Melvin and the San Francisco Giants. You're out. See ya. You will not be landing Roki Sasaki.
Not surprised at all.
The next 2 teams to go out were from the same city, and it was New York, Frank Sinatra, Ring It Home, Yankees, and Mets, both eliminated. From there, it was the Rangers. This seemed to be going on like hourly. It was kind of funny. It was like that next came out, the Rangers were out. So this was from a list of like 7 finalists plus a mystery team, which everyone found out was the Blue Jays, by the way. But the Cubs were unfortunately next on the fatality list. They were told Roki Sasaki will not be coming to Chicago. So that kind of is where things landed yesterday. Jeff Passan from ESPN reported after all of the dust cleared that the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, and our Friar Faithful San Diego Padres are the finalists for the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. However, the hell he knows that. But it seems to be that it's narrowed down to those 3 teams, and it seems that the entire baseball world is reporting that at least.
Do you think it's possible for any other team that we haven't mentioned, for instance, the Mets, can swoop in and pick him up?
I don't think it's so. The Mets.
Okay, bad example. Not the
Mariners, maybe. Like somebody like that. Somebody that's in a quiet market. The Mariners, maybe, I think, have an outside chance. They have the Ichiro connection. So they have ties to Japanese baseball legend. Speaking of which, who's going to be in the news because the Hall of Fame announcements are going to be out soon, and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's his first year on the ballot. So more on that next week probably, or the week after. But in the meantime, I do think the Mariners could somehow weasel their way into this somehow. I mean, he has until January 23rd to sign, but he has to sign by then. So there is still like 10 days here if you're saying today's the 14th to the 23rd.
But he hasn't met with the Mariners that we know
Apparently not. Not that anyone knows of. So we're going to get into all of this because yesterday afternoon then, after Jeff Passan tweeted this out about the finalists, a video leaked onto the internet, leaked onto Twitter, X, and it was Roki Sasaki at Petco Park this weekend in brown top and yellow shorts doing some kind of bullpen session with tons of Padres players and brass on hand. We got Yu Darvish in attendance. We got Joe Musgrove in attendance. We got AJ Preller in attendance.
So the full
We got Manny Machado in attendance. We got Action Jackson. We got Action Jackson Merrill in attendance. And we got even Padres number one 2023 prospect signing Ethan Salas catching this bullpen session. This was definitely an all hands on deck presentation. Obviously, Fernando was not there. He's in the Dominican with Profar. They were working out. We saw a video of that this weekend, but these guys can be brought in on a Zoom call or a Skype call or some kind of video call and say, hey, what's up? We're working out. We're getting ready for the season, whatever. They don't all have to be in San Diego, but the fact that this video exists now and like the fact that he's been seen in the brown and gold and throwing, like we can clearly see his Roki Sasaki, if you haven't seen him, has like this high leg kick. It looks like a karate kick almost, and it's a very distinct looking delivery, and it was clearly him in this video pitching in the brown and gold colors. Nika, is this our emotional heartstrings being tugged at?
Yes, of course they are. I believe that he will sign with the Padres, despite...
You've been steadfast about it.
Yeah. And I'm going to stick with that. I don't see him signing with the Dodgers. I really don't. He will play second or third fiddle to Ohtani. It's never going to be his team, or he's never going to be looked at as a magical creature on that team.
It's interesting, right? We're going to get into a lot more of this throughout this segment. But yeah, it does make you wonder, like, because of the way Petco Park is set up, knowing that there's like hotels and high rises around the stadium that can see into it, was this done on purpose, do you think, to intentionally leak out like this? And is there a chance that you think it has any negative consequences on the whole process?
For whom? For the Dodgers or the Padres?
Well, I guess for either one. The reason I ask is because I think there's some thought out there that this leaking out damages the Padres because it doesn't make them look good. And I have to totally disagree with that. But
I don't see how that damages the Padres, but in the Dodgers' eyes, sure, because it's not their colors.
Well, yeah, and I think that's where a lot of that's coming from. It's like, oh, see, things leak out there. They don't leak out of our organization. And it's like...
No, we just torment the players on the field by throwing shit at them.
Your stadium's also on top of a mountain that no one can walk to unless you need 30 minutes to walk there.
Their stadium needs a major upgrade. It's a disaster.
Well,
but that's
don't tell them
that. Right.
So that's kind of where we landed this morning, and we got a lot of media clips to go along with the Roki Sasaki news over the past 24 hours at least. And I pulled some of those clips for us for this show, Nika. And we would like to kind of play them and analyze them for everyone. Well, the first clip that I have pulled comes from our friends at John Boy Media. This is Trever Plouffe from the Baseball Today podcast. And I want to play his thoughts on where he thinks Roki Sasaki should sign.
I don't think the Dodgers signed him. I don't. My favorite landing spot is San Diego. I believe right now that's the best rivalry in baseball. You can call it a rivalry, whatever you want to call it. It's the best matchup in baseball right now is Padres-Dodgers because they genuinely do not like each other, and that's what I like in rivalries. The history to me is great. You need to have that a little bit. It's what's happening currently on the field. These teams don't like each other. I think they match up really well against each other. And to think about Roki Sasaki having to face Shohei or Yamamoto, it's like you're writing a script. It's a beautiful thing. That's straight entertainment value.
I agree with Trevor.
Well, I mean, you kind of already outed yourself as agreeing with Trevor.
I did.
But I agree with Trevor too for all these reasons. It's like I guess I wrote down here, this is the best rivalry in baseball right now, and I agree with Trevor about that 100%. We went to a game last year at Dodger Stadium and got to be a part of it firsthand as Padres fans a little bit. We weren't totally transparent maybe with everyone there of who we were rooting for, but we were kind of taking it all in and enjoying the rivalry. The other thing I wanted to say is that I feel like the baseball universe just needs to be brought back into balance a little bit. If he goes to the Dodgers and they have this like all-star basically starting pitching rotation with the three-headed Japanese dragon. We won't call it a monster. We'll call it a dragon. If they have Yamamoto, Ohtani, and now Sasaki on the mound in the same rotation, like it's out of balance. It won't be like, I don't want to say unfair to the rest of the league because all's fair in love and baseball, but
I don't think the fairness is the right way to put it. It's who they gonna compete against.
right, it'll get boring at some point, and then they'll be
very
like
boring.
starting to lose their edge, and then they won't live up to maybe these Hall of Fame numbers. And
MLB bitches and moans all the time about viewership. People don't watch baseball. What do you think? Bringing Sasaki to Dodgers is gonna elevate the baseball, and everybody's gonna watch it?
I'll tell you right now, you know why everyone watched the Bulls runs in the 90s? It wasn't always because of the finals. It was because of the Pistons rivalry. They played in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It was because of the Knicks rivalry. They played them in the playoffs.
Right.
They played hard against each other. They fouled each other hard. They made it hurt if you went up for the dunk.
Yeah.
And it was intentionally done. And it was done with somewhat of a respect. It wasn't like they went for your head, but they didn't let you have an easy point. And that is the point.
And baseball is looking at this kind of a situation from a different perspective because baseball is a little slower pace game. It doesn't have that explosive rivalry. But at the same time, you gotta have balance. You can't have everything on the right and nothing on the left.
And if this is the best rivalry in baseball right now, let's not let it get lopsided. Let's keep it somewhat balanced and let them compete against each other and let them have at it. Let them duke it out, you know? Like we saw it in the playoffs last year. It was the best series in all of the postseason last year in terms of entertainment value, and just you could tell that they were out for blood against each other at some point.
Yeah, it was a lot better versus the Dodgers and the Mets. That
Correct.
was 100% better.
It felt like there was more heat there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
same thing with the World Series. It didn't live up to that. That series was more entertaining.
Which World Series?
This year, the Yankees-Dodgers. The Padres-Dodgers series was more entertaining than that World Series. even was.
Absolutely. It was boring.
It was anticlimactic at that point, in a sense. All right, well, the next clip I got is going to really irritate you if you agree with anything that I just said. And this comes from our friends at the MLB Network. Of course it does. The establishment bozos. We're going to give them their little moment here. It's Harold Reynolds. It's Matt Vasgersian. I'm sorry. Matt Vasgersian. I call him Matty V. So we're going to refer to him as Matty V from now on. And Keith Costas, who's a producer for MLB Network, he also joins them in this segment to give his 2 cents of air through his brain, I guess.
Oh, everybody has an opinion about it. It's just like assholes.
Right on, Nika.
Everybody has one.
Well, here's their opinion, just so we can give them their, we got to hear all sides of this argument, right?
Sure.
All right, let's hear their argument, Nika.
What are the chances Roki Sasaki does not sign with the Dodgers? Need a percentage on your whiteboards. They've said market size is not a factor, rather. Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Cubs, Rangers, Giants, Padres, all reportedly involved so
Chances
far.
he does not sign with Dodgers?
Does not sign with the Dodgers.
0%. Wow, Harold coming in hot. I think it's a 50% chance. There's a chance he goes someplace else.
That's a lock deal.
I'll give it a coin flip.
I'll be shocked.
What do you think, Keith?
I would tend towards more what Harold had to say. I think he's probably headed to the Dodgers and the rich get richer.
I'm going to start with Matt Vasgersian, actually, because I'm going to give him some props for at least going 50-50 on it. But in case you didn't hear, they want, basically they think Dodgers are all in on this. They have the inside track to sign this guy. So 3-headed dragon, nothing wrong with that. It's great for baseball. I feel like they try to will these things into existence just through their chatter.
Oh, yeah. They do. The same what they did with the World Series last year. They wanted Dodgers and Yankees to play
And they
against
got it.
each other. They got it. And what did we get?
We got a crappy World Series kind of that was anticlimactic and didn't live up to the divisional series against the Padres. Again, they don't talk about any of the things we talked about with balance and the division rivalry and wouldn't that be good for baseball? Wouldn't that draw in viewership?
Of course, but it's uncomfortable conversations to be had.
I feel like we had all these division rivalries in the 90s that were even though it was the steroid era, sure. We had all these division rivalries that were lit. You know, like to put a modern terminology on it, they were lit. They were must-see TV, you know, like Yankees Red Sox in the regular season was like, you heard Pedro talking about like, they hit my guy, I'm going to hit their guy. Like, and it only amplified if they played in the playoffs. And you kind of got to see a little bit of that again this year with Dodgers Padres. And like MLB needs more of this, not less of this.
Yeah, I agree.
And personally, I hope Roki Sasaki lands right in the middle of it and gives all of MLB a big shit burger.
Really?
And you know, brings the brown and gold some respect into this season, you know, like all family feuds aside. I really don't think that is going to have a long-lasting impact on the future direction of like the immediate future direction of this Padres team. And I think one thing that's getting lost in all of this is Yu Darvish. That is my cue. Nika, can you please cue up Steve Phillips for me, who was on MLB Network Radio this morning and had a different perspective than the guys on TV did. Let's hear from Steve Phillips.
It sure feels like it's the Padres and then a long shot the Blue Jays because, you know, you think about Yu Darvish is his godfather, in his words. You know, he's called him his baseball godfather. You know, he's been his mentor throughout. And it just seems hard to believe that he would choose the Dodgers over being with Darvish, right? You've got Ohtani and, you know, to Jim Bowden's point where he had been talking a lot about, you know, if you're going to get off-field money in you know, marketing money in some way in sponsorship deals, you know, going with Ohtani and Yamamoto, you're the third of the three. How much will you get there versus going down there with Darvish now in San Diego? Now, both teams sell out the stadium.
Well, this was a great little bit of audio here, and he mentioned a couple things. One is the relationship that Roki Sasaki has with Yu Darvish. Yeah, there's a little bit of an age difference there, 14 years, but enough for him to be considered a mentor figure. You heard the word godfather sort of mentioned in there. That's pretty high praise. And I do want to point out Steve Phillips, former general manager of the New York Mets, I believe. So he has a little bit of pedigree in this and probably has more contacts in his text messages talking to him about this than maybe Harold Reynolds even does. But it's a different type of establishment when you're a general manager or a former general manager than it is when you're just like an MLB Network former player. I think you just have more inside information personally. So I thought his perspective was good on this, and he's right about Darvish, and he's also right about being the third wheel in LA. And you mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to get more into it here. Roki Sasaki is coming here and signing as a minor leaguer for 3 years, and then he's going into arbitration for 3 years, but he also he can still earn money through endorsements, right?
Oh,
and he's huge in Japan already. He's gonna be huge. And so being able to bring those endorsement deals and sign those endorsement deals, I do agree that he would be somewhat in Ohtani and Yamamoto's shadow. He would be looked at as like the third wheel. So you have that perspective on this. I kind of agree with that. You brought it up. I guess that's the argument, right? Is it better to be a three-headed dragon, or is it better to bring more competitive balance? Like, do you want to be a part of this dynasty, or do you want to compete and strike out the best and maybe put a little crink in their plans as a you know what I mean? Like,
as a competitor, and he is a competitor, I would say going with the Padres gives you that opportunity to elevate yourself even to a higher position. Otherwise, when signed with the Dodgers, you are always in the shadow of Ohtani or Yamamoto. You are never looked as a individual on its own merit. You're just gonna be looked at as a part of the trio.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's maybe the pitch difference that's being made here, and I think maybe that was the icing on the cake for this whole thing. I think the Padres had an inside track all along, just from having the connection with Yu Darvish.
Sure.
There are reports out there even that Yu Darvish lobbied his team to make it possible that they post him early to allow this opportunity to even happen in the first place. I don't think that that's necessarily should weigh in on this, because you could almost say that that's tampering or unfair. But at the same time, whatever. If it's allowed, then it's allowed. It's not.
So let's not forget how much the Dodger organization treasures arms. They go through arms so fast.
Yes. I think they get overlooked their flaws so much because they won a championship this year and they
major market.
They want to be propped up. So a lot of the businesses are there. ESPN,
right.
headquartered there.
So basically, the mainstream media is never gonna poo-poo on the team or find flaws with anything that the team does. They might point little things here and there, but they will never do a deeper dive into why it's happening.
You do see a lot of those teams get
they get a pass.
They get a pass, but I feel like it gets weaker as you go west as well. Like New York, they don't give you a pass. Chicago, no. They don't give you a pass as much. But LA, it just feels like they get a pass, especially with the arms. And I want to point out that Mark Pryor, who is their pitching coach, is one of the poster child of Tommy John, and all because of his form. It's all because he cheats his elbow up sooner, and he's doing this mechanically on purpose. He's not giving himself a full rotation with his arm. And I feel like this is the cause of all of this. It puts undue stress on that ligament and causes it to break after time. I really believe that. Dylan Cease scares me for the same reasons. My dad would call it short arming the ball. He would call it don't short arm the ball. And yet all these guys now are doing it, and I think they're fricking up their elbows doing it.
How many of the pitchers on the Dodgers team had already twice? They went through twice.
Justin May. Is that his name? Dustin?
Yeah.
Or
Justin? Dustin May.
Dustin May.
Ohtani.
What's that?
Ohtani.
Well, Ohtani didn't do it as a Dodger, though. I think that's.
But that's his second time.
It is. It is. He's on thin ice. If he has one more, he's never going to pitch again, probably. Anyways, we're not going to get into all their woes. I do want to get to a couple more articles before we get out of here.
Okay.
The first one is from DodgersWay.com, which is a part of Fansided and their websites. This is by Katrina Stebbins. It was posted about 4 hours ago, and it says, did the Dodgers fall behind the Padres and Blue Jays on Roki Sasaki with the latest update? And I'm going to skip into the middle here where it says, it always felt like it was going to come down to the Dodgers and Padres, homes to Shohei Ohtani and Yu Darvish. But the Blue Jays are a nagging dark horse in the mix. They were the mystery eighth team Sasaki held an in-person meeting with before the holidays, but this wasn't revealed until well after New Year's Day. The Blue Jays have become the latest laughingstock of the league when it comes to whiffing on free agents. They've been finalists for Juan Soto, Corbin Burns, Anthony Santander, and Gleyber Torres, but have come up with just Jeff Hoffman, who failed 2 physicals with the Braves and Orioles before eventually finding a team that decided to take the risk anyway. That means they have no chance at Sasaki, right? Maybe not. Sasaki has returned to the States and has held 2 more in-person meetings with the Padres and Blue Jays, but not the Dodgers. I thought that was really important, that he has not had a second in-team meeting with the LA Dodgers. Despite that fact, they are listed as a finalist by Jeff Passan, who, as we mentioned earlier, tweeted, and I'll read the tweet right now. It says, the finalists for Japanese star right-hander Roki Sasaki are the LA Dodgers, San Diego Padres, and Toronto Blue Jays, sources tell ESPN. Sasaki will decide on his team by the closing of his posting window January 23rd. Thanks, Jeff, for the obvious. Back to the Dodgers Way article. It says, if it's true that Sasaki won't sign until January 20th, then there's still some time for him to hold a second in-person meeting with the Dodgers, and one where they can pull out all the stops. He specifically requested players not be present at initial meetings, but that changed during this second round, with Darvish and Manny Machado playing key roles in the Padres' courting. The Dodgers would immediately throw Ohtani and Yamamoto at Sasaki if they were given the opportunity, and they'd probably have both of them toting around the commissioner's trophy all day for good measure. For the moment, though, it seems the Dodgers are on the back burner here. Sasaki's agent, Joe Wolf, hinted during the winter meetings that Sasaki might want to go to a smaller market team and not want to pitch for a club that will invite media spectacle. And the Padres and Blue Jays both tick those boxes in different ways. Hopefully the Dodgers are just keeping their second meeting quiet or have it on the books for the coming week. All right, well, that is from thedodgersway.com. Sorry for the lengthy read, but I thought it was important to get a few points in there, Nika. The big things that stuck out to me were like, the Dodgers have not gotten a second meeting yet, according to this fan site, right? That if that's true, that's huge news, I think, and puts them definitely on the back burner. Despite all of their trying not to sound like they're out of it, that would kind of put them out of it, right?
I would, yeah, that's what it seems like it. But nobody's going to tell them they're out yet because that creates no drama. You've got to have drama. You got to have the clickbaits. You got to have all these little bills and the whistles.
And San Diego, Toronto doesn't have the same ramifications as San Diego and LA, but I think you got to have a third team. Anyways, the other thing that stood out to me was that, the agent talking about Sasaki's desire to go to a small market team. And that I've also heard as well, listening to different, radio stations, broadcasts in the morning when I get up, just that like he had an interesting, complicated relationship with Japanese media already. And he doesn't like being hounded by the press and is trying to avoid a media spectacle. I think you would get more of that with LA than you would with San Diego.
I think you would get more of the spectacle in general over here because that's just our media. They want spectacles, but you're absolutely right. Less drama will definitely be in San Diego.
Yes. So my interpretation of this article, with the bias of being a Padres fan, is that like they kind of feel like, as a Dodger fan, they feel on the ropes right now. Maybe things aren't going the way we want with this one. So it's not the end of the world for them, though. They got a lot of arms in pitching. So I would rather see good competitive baseball than a decade of just blowing teams out of the water. I'm sorry. Not sorry.
Exactly.
All right. Well, one more quick article. This is from Friars on Base. This is also fan-sided, but from the Padres' perspective. This is Aiden Blakely. This was also posted 4 hours ago, and it says here, and would have been a couple of busy days for the Sasaki camp. A number of teams have been informed they are out of the race for the Japanese star pitcher. The Cubs, Mets, Yankees, and Giants have all been informed they will not be joining their teams, while the Padres, Dodgers, and Blue Jays are seen as consensus favorites to land the pitcher, with none of the three teams able to spend more than around $7 million on Sasaki due to his status as an international amateur free agent. The Padres do not need to worry about being outbid by the league's highest spending team. With the international free agency period opening on the 15th, the Padres are looking to make their final push in hopes of finally beating out the Dodgers in a free agency battle, a victory that would add not only much-needed starting pitching depth, but the mental aspect that the Padres can keep pace with the Dodgers. Sasaki's agent, Joe Wolf, has informed the league that his client will most likely not be making his announcement when the period opens on the 15th, but will instead be waiting closer until the deadline on January 23rd. Padres fans will have another week of agonizing waiting, but if this video is any indication of his pending decision, then things are looking right for San Diego, and that's when he posted a link to yesterday's leaked video of Roki Sasaki pitching in the Petco Park outfield, doing what's called a bullpen session. And yeah, we already talked about that. So, all right, Nika, that's all of the news, clips, and articles that I dug up about this. What are your thoughts and final predictions heading into tomorrow, January 15th, the first day that he can sign?
Hopefully this is done sooner than later so we can all move on from it and concentrate on other players, because he is taking all the air out of the room right now. And I don't think he wants to stretch this, or his team doesn't want to stretch this as long. I think it should be settled sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I hope he doesn't take all the way to the 23rd. I won't be surprised if he waits until Friday maybe instead of Wednesday, but just to take a couple extra days and make sure. I think if he knows, though, like, don't make the other teams wait. Like, it's sort of bad faith to do that to your opponent.
Yeah.
It's also tugging at the heartstrings of other fan bases like mine. For example, when I see him on video in brown and gold attire, and I want it, I want to will it into existence. I want to see number 14 out there for the Padres. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, would it be so sad to then see him now wear the blue after this.
Did you?
Know? What?
Did you see where him?
No, I
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
Only AI generated images, but nothing
that doesn't
real.
count.
This is real video, you know?
I think if he knows, if tomorrow starts the international signing day, I think he might sign it tomorrow.
Okay.
If
We
that
will
happens,
also be following this, and I promise we will be doing a breaking news episode of the Kanika Baseball Podcast as soon as Roki Sasaki makes his decision and give you our thoughts, good, bad, or ugly.
we will be here.
We will. And we are getting all set for spring training in one more month approximately, and the build up to that, the first game I think is February 20th or 21st, so boy, oh boy, oh boy, baseball is right around the corner, everybody. So stay tuned, stick with us. We're going to be here every step of the way for this season and hopefully watch the San Diego Padres win their first ever World Series at some point. Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Stay with us, Friar Faithful. Stay tuned.